y'all. It's your boy Tim Snow. Got another one here for you, man. I just want to say what's up to everybody here.
Yeah, boy, you a fella. I say you got me, man. That's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, what Tim Snow. Exculpatory family salute y'all. It's your boy Tim Snow. Exculpatory family salute y'all. It's your boy Tim Snow.
Exculpatory family salute y'all. It's your boy Tim Snow back here with another one tonight. And boy, I'm kind of mad. This one got me hot right here. I feel like we all been bamboozled. We all been misled. We all been pointed in the wrong direction. Dr. Phil came down here with that old Hollywood Oprah stuff, had us fooled. Because I swear I watched his testimony about 5 times to make sure I didn't miss anything. And actually did see something else I was kind of shocked about. So we were real. If you've been watching this channel, you've seen we've been really wondering why Ken Paxton and Greg Abbott has been telling everybody to step out the way to let them kill this man, that it's their job, and Texas don't care what no Hollywood people think, right? And I always, Miss T, hey, I always put that on the fact that that's some redneck stuff, right? I really did. I didn't realize the whole situation of the case, okay? When Dr. Phil comes down and he does his congressional hearing where they did the emergency stoppage, I was watching it and I noticed something then where they asked Phil, had he noticed anything about sexual anything with the child? And Phil said, yes, there was 3 instances of anal tearing, right? And I was like, what'd he say? But then Phil also said that that wasn't used in the court and it wasn't used in the trial. So I was thinking, maybe there's not much to that, right? Surely if the baby's anus had been ripped 3 times and anybody knew that that would be admissible in court, so I was confused. So anyway, he continues on, Phil continues on to make the case for this man. He's literally playing like a lawyer. Lawyer Phil, it's crazy, not Dr. Phil, Lawyer Phil in this one, right? Pino, what's up, Pino? Salute. So, Mad Max, Dog, everybody. So check it out, right? Phil makes this case for this man for almost 2 hours, sits down saying he's a gentle soul and the man is highly autistic, which I'm definitely not disputing, but that he did not believe he done it. All right, now mind you, Dr. Phil had all the facts to the case. Everything that was on the table, Phil had it all, including what came out on the news tonight. Did y'all watch the news tonight? Come on, man. The news tonight said they released more info and a juror in the case, one of the 12 people that found him guilty and sentenced him to death, came forward and did a little bit of talking. Well, guess what they said? They said they didn't find him guilty on that junk science shaking baby stuff, not alone. They said the baby had a crushed cranium and bruises all over his face. Now think about that. We were out here supporting this man thinking, oh, poor bastard, he didn't shake his baby. It had advanced pneumonia that caused brain swelling, right? But see how you can form an opinion based on half the facts like we all did? Phil got everybody out here in Texas looking dumb as hell when we realized now the baby had a crushed skull and bruises all over his face. I don't care how many times that baby went to the hospital in the last 2 years. There's no reason. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. This is just ridiculous. Dr. Phil, you got to go. Roberson, I'm sorry, my man, you got to go too. When we're hearing something about anal tears, and now a juror themselves are coming out saying that you beat this baby's head in, you bashed his skull in, oh, no, yeah, you're no good. Marcel, no good. He is no good. Roberson, man, you got to get that needle, bro. Real talk. And I think anybody that finds out these last few details, because everybody has been borderline on the case, even supporting him, because there wasn't just any outright clear evidence saying he was innocent. But there was enough evidence and new stuff coming up that he deserved a retrial. The crazy part is now, yeah, it's thumbs down. He's no good. And you know, another thing that strikes me with this is when something like this happens, imagine the amount of donations and cash his legal fund has received lately. He's probably stacked up millions of dollars, and that's just me estimating, right? Wayne, it was on ABC 13, Houston News today, and it has not hit the YouTube clips yet. I might make it into a short because I got YouTube TV where I DVR the stuff, but I couldn't find it to show it. But it's real. Definitely said. So what they were saying is that Roberson's lawyer had contacted the juror to try to, I guess, come out and be on his side or something. But the news article confused me, Wayne, because I didn't realize if he was saying that he contacted him back then during the trial or back then today. But then clearly said the juror said it was not shaking baby while he was convicted. It was the baby's head being bashed in with bruises on his face with the swollen brain. Look, getting money like Wade Wilson. Pino is the king of Wade Wilson. For real, for real. So that's disturbing, though. Think about it, man. Yeah, people are donating money to cases like this, right? The Clinton Young Foundation was working hard on this, and I know the Clinton Young Foundation is not, I'm not saying anything bad about them, right? That's what they do. The Innocence Project now working on this. All the millions of dollars that are donated to anti-death penalty places and stuff like that. Anybody watching this or anybody affiliated with them, man, you tell them to save their money. Don't spend it on this guy right here, because I was backing him, so I heard that. Ashlyn, what do you think, Ashlyn? Is the baby having a crushed skull and contusions on his face? Is that enough? Do we say, F this dude, can't support him no more, and no longer call for a retrial? So it shows you the state of Texas that we just really didn't have a lot of faith in Greg Abbott. You know, none of us did. But I think at this time he made the right call. Like, get up out the way. And it must be that none of those lawmakers, legislature, House of Representatives, whoever it was, Dr. Phil was doing that with, obviously they didn't know that part either. What do they think actually happened? Well, that's what I'm saying. He was convicted of shaken baby syndrome and assaulting a baby. So pretty much he murdered that child. Now, I do think there should be some type of investigation to find out why this highly autistic man had this child, wouldn't y'all think? Like, I got a question for anybody that's followed this story, and I know some of y'all have followed this story. Where's the child's mother? Because I do remember them saying grandparents were concerned about him getting that baby, if y'all followed that part. But nobody ever said anything about where the child's mother is. I don't know if she's deceased. She's somewhere maybe not in the best, mentally. I'm not sure. If anybody knows about the mother, drop it in the comments. And I don't think either, Ash, and I already don't think too much was going to happen. And now we see why, right? Obviously, Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton knew this too. And I think what just, in all reality, listen, the jurors just got tired of them being the bad guys, don't you think? Like, everybody keeps talking about him falsely convicted, him about to die, which is basically, in a roundabout way, calling them all misguided murderers, because they're the ones that sentenced him to death. So I guess one of them just couldn't handle that anymore and came out and talked to the media. And why it wasn't out sooner, I'm not sure. But clearly, Dr. Phil and all them had court transcripts, the whole entire court transcripts. You know you have to pay for them. He's a billion-dollar corporation, works for Oprah, so you know they did. And I guess, too, this is why we haven't seen any legal motions doing any good, anything. It's literally just been publicity. And I've said it a million times on this channel, the thing that TDCJ fears the most is publicity. See, Ray, what's up, cuz? Salute, man. Take care of them babies. Yeah, the number one thing they fear is publicity. So, Dr. Phil proved that, right? But he couldn't break them. And he couldn't budge them. So, I don't know. This it shows you media manipulation. It shows you how you can never, ever be certain about something unless you know all facts. You know it? And then it's hard as hell to know when we know all the facts or not. That's why I really like speaking on celebrity news or cases like this, because as soon as you put your foot down, you make your stance known. You know your position is here. Something else hits and makes you look stupid. That's the real truth too. You know it, but it's not. I mean, sometimes you just got to do it. You really do. And so the Dr. Phil part, I can't imagine what Dr. Phil's motivation was in this right here. With him being the type of person he is, and like, so he did say he's with the Innocence Project. Perhaps they just didn't get all the, yeah, Marcel, hell yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's looking like a chomo that also beat this baby to death, man. So the narrative was, right, either the baby didn't die from shaken baby syndrome, or if it did, he's so autistic he didn't mean to do it. Now we're seeing he looks like a sex offender and a murderer, and we're knowing why they never backed up off his execution. Yeah, Shaquille, so that's what I'm saying. If you missed the first, new news today hit the media. ABC 13 in Houston said that one of the 12 jurors came forward and said that the child had a bashed in skull and a beat up face. And she was only 2 years old. So, I can remember my daughter at 2 years old, right, with her head is all soft, feeling still, kinda, and couldn't even imagine how easy it would be just to punch her and bruise her whole face. So I don't really know how hard or what he had to do all this. Maybe threw the baby down, slammed it on the ground, hit it against the wall. I don't know, but I tell you what, it is a damn shame. And I really do. I feel fooled, man. I really do feel bamboozled. I feel like we got taken for a ride. So what do you mean by that, Ms. T? The Innocence Project only deals with actual innocence and not factual innocence. I don't understand that. You know I'm simple. I ain't got no education. Enlighten me. Because I really don't know much about the Innocence Project. I'm not gonna lie. I know that they deal with death row cases and that's what they do. But I don't know like what their qualifications are. Can you just, if you're on death row, can you just write them and tell them you're innocent? Do they investigate them, or what's going on? Let me get that shit out. Sorry. Can't be court errors. You had to. Well, so that's what I'm saying. So with Robert Roberson's case, I don't think I don't think anything was ever presented that outright cleared him, right? But there was a lot of evidence that could have created a reasonable doubt, and that's what the difference is. So people forget how the justice system works. Well, those people do not have to prove 100% you did it. If you kill somebody, they don't have to show a picture of you shooting them. All they have to do is prove to those 12 people that you likely did it. It's your job and your lawyer's job to come back and prove that you didn't, right? So it can be 50 in their head. They can say 51 he did it, 49 he didn't, so he's guilty. There's been a lot of shit like that. Then there's a lot of times where the jury's hung. Two or three people don't think they did it, and out of a frustration, almost out of intimidation, I want to belong, not prolong the proceedings so they can get back home. They're not really getting paid. They'll just cave and find you guilty. And it can be the other way too. Everybody can think you're innocent except two or three people holding you up. Seriously, Fork. Remember how you spent hours letting your chat talk about me? Man, I wasn't even in there. You was talking to a loop video, but I appreciate you putting me in the algorithm on that loop video. That meant a lot to me. Thank you. Oh boy, we fixing to get the politics in here. The Innocence Project is trying to get Wade Wilson off of death row. That can't be for real, right? I don't know. See, we had Pino in the chat. Pino is the from Florida. Pino is the Wade Wilson man. He stayed up to date on it too. Hey, Wado 10K, man, hell, he's lucky he didn't get 5 death penalties. With all that high publicity, killed somebody's grandparents, shot up the whole video shoot. Yeah, no, he's lucky he's ever gonna see another human and not locked in the box next to Robert Roberson, honestly. He said he'd get out of prison. Well, it's gonna take a lot of, hey, man, listen, it's gonna take a whole lot of money for that young dude to overturn 5 murder cases with witnesses, ain't it? These young cats are crazy out here, man. Listen, these young dudes are doing crimes like their favorite rap song says, not realizing they're gonna be old ass men when they come home, or they're never coming home. My favorite one is when they say they got bond money on deck. That's only where it starts. Mr. Goyo, what's up, Goyo? Salute, man. That's what's up. We're talking about this crazy case down here in Texas, man. It had us fooled. Goyo, we was bamboozled, we was fooled, we was misled, we was tricked, we was whatever kind of word you can think about it, man. Dr. Phil came down here with that old Hollywood BS, told half the story, went on a media blitz, and then we find out today that the man's really a pedophile and a baby murderer. And we don't know why we were supporting this guy and asking for him to get a new trial. Got us all feeling stupid. For real, but what can you expect following somebody like Dr. Phil? Following a TV doctor. You know what? Can you imagine? So we got TV doctors. Can you imagine having a tooth that hurts and you got to go to a TV dentist? Or having problems in your life, you go to a TV doctor, so let him fuck with your brain on TV? Fuck that, that's crazy. Marcel, yeah, other people get death sentence, so Wado 10K probably pled to all that, I would assume. You know, when you kill people in this capital murder, if you're willing to, like, plead, you know, and take death, life without parole, they're done with you. They ain't gotta do any more days of trial or waste any more money on you, because that life without parole in Texas, that's a closed casket. There's no coming back off that. They mean it when they say without parole. And on that capital murder, that's the only 2 options, is death or life without parole. Michael Bay, yeah, China, salute to Delaware. That's what's up. The judge that sentenced SPM said all sex offenders have one thing in common, that they're all liars. So hell yeah, they're all liars. Well, what else are they all? Liars, control freaks probably. I don't know, it's weird. Motherfuckers are weird. Life with parole, 40 to life, yeah, so there you, I think if it's a capital murder, which means a pre-planned murder or a hit, that the only 2 options these days are life without parole or life with parole. I'm sorry. Life without parole or the death penalty. If it's just a normal murder, then yeah, you can get the old school life sentence. And I tell you what, there's a YouTube channel called Tommy G. I meant to talk about this. Tommy G, I don't know where he's out of. He's been going around doing like these little mini documentaries on gang members and all kind of stuff in Texas, right? Got these young kids. He's exploiting the fuck out of these young kids for views. Got all these kids getting ready to go to jail. He did one where he's in Dallas and he's out there on Harry Hines on the host road with all the prostitutes and some little young dudes talking about their pimps and all this other shit. And then he literally shows a dude in a ski mask, right? Check this out, y'all. This is Dallas, Texas. This is real. This came out the other day. Excuse me. Tommy G shows a young black dude in a ski mask with these big ass guns laid all out. And he's asking him how much will it cost to get somebody killed in Dallas, Texas nowadays, because they're saying they're hitmen. Hey y'all, drop me a price in the comments. How much do you think he said it costs to get a human being killed in Dallas, Texas? I want to see what y'all say. I'm gonna let a couple people drop Drop the price in the comments what you think a human life costs in Dallas, Texas, and then I'll tell you what it said. Oh, yo, that's rough. Yeah, that is rough, man. There, so Miss T said a human life is worth $100 in Dallas. Come on, y'all. 5K, 1K, 50K, 20K, 1,200, 800. That's some good answers right there. Keep dropping me a few. 300. So one of y'all is pretty close. One of y'all, damn, Dirk only paid 10K. Ooh, wee, that's rough. I'll tell you this. I actually did time with a real life hitman before. Look, somebody seen it. He's seen it. The human life goes for $3,600 in Dallas, and that's on the high end. They said, right? And I'll tell you something. Shout out to Murder Southwest Houston. Murder literally told me one time, because he was a real hitman. He was in jail for doing a hit for a paid assassination. And Murder said never do one for less than $50,000. And I looked at him and said, Murder, why would you charge so much? He said, never charge less than $50,000 because that's what your lawyer is going to start off. That's the bare minimum lawyer for a hitman is 50 grand. And these stupid ass kids in Dallas talking about they'll do it for $3,600. Think about that. $3,600. When they get caught, they're going to spend that right there in the county jail on commissary because the shit costs too much. You know what? Think about it. $3,600, they're going to get the death penalty. Life without parole. You can buy you a $3,600 ticket to Ferguson unit, to Cofield, Michaels, Beto, Telford, any of them units for $3,600. Think about that. He would not convict with new evidence. Boy, that's not what it said on the news, D-Pad, at all. So I'm going to have to look at that because on the news, it said that he convicted him because the baby had a crushed skull and bruises on the face. Maybe that was a different juror, too, because there's 12 of them. You'll have to find it on ABC 13. I'm sure it'll be talked about on the 10 o'clock news tonight. And I definitely froze what I was doing to watch it. Well, I tell you what, I had a dude, let me do that while we're live. I had a dude offer to hit somebody for 400 for me one time. $400, and I had more than that in my pocket. Let me see, Robert Roberson, jury, or juror. That's from October 21st. That's the one that testified in the committee hearing is the only thing I'm seeing. This was news that came today, for sure. Why do they make them wear that all-white uniform? Because if they take off running, they can spot them better. Most all the prisons are in country areas, and you can spot somebody all white in a helicopter pretty easy, for sure. Murders. What's up, salute? I was going to say that last word, but I don't know it. How to even say that one. Yeah, so I'll look for that, but I think that's old. What I'm pulling up is showing October 21st, and that was a juror that testified saying that they wouldn't, but that goes all 12 jurors. What I said, sometimes 2, 3, 4 of them feel different, but they ride with the other just to end the trial. I even said when this first started with that dude that I felt like if it's a capital murder offense, whoever gets to pick the sentencing probably should be more than 12 people. It probably should be like a panel of 20, something like that, 50, shit, even 100. I don't know. Paul Jolly, Cofield, 85. Back when y'all was working in the fields for real, huh? Michael Bay, one of my friends, said they know somebody that had a car stolen in Southwest Houston. Police told them everywhere that car went, like that every time it being past the camera, they could pull up its license plate, and it was all over. I mean, they followed that thing like it had a GPS tracker in it, and all they were doing was database searching the license plate in Houston with that TransStar thing. So they better know that's real. And you know too, hey, everybody that's trying to be criminals nowadays, what do you have in your pocket? You have a cell phone. That cell phone is literally a GPS tracker for them people. You already know they can turn your microphone on if they want you. Man, this is not the time to be a criminal. Just like what Mr. Larry used to say, definitely not your time to be a criminal. Everybody got a Ring doorbell. Uh-oh, I don't know what happened. Snow got to pay the Wi-Fi bill. Big B, they had us fooled, man. Think they gonna have to go ahead and stick that needle in them. So once Dr. Phil started talking about the anal tears, I was so confused. But then once this came out today, talking about the baby head crust and all that, man, I didn't know what to think. I really didn't. Yeah, so Ashlyn, so if I'm bad confused now about what I seen that somebody said that with the new evidence they wouldn't convict him because a baby having a crushed in head and bruises on his face, pneumonia has shit to do with none of that. So I mean, at the bare minimum, is he guilty of assaulting a baby, beating his head in, bruising his face? Like, what the fuck is going on here? Because I'm bad confused. I really am. We're talking about Robert Roberson, the guy on death row in Texas for the shaken baby syndrome. Dr. Phil has been putting on a campaign for him, doing shows, uh, calling in help from the other celebrities and everything to get him a retrial. But nowhere in Dr. Phil's testimony that he did in detail at length did he mention the baby's skull being caved in and having a bruised up face that we just heard about on the Houston News today. So that's the crazy part. Maybe it hit the damn news. Maybe the news had time to upload it. I doubt it. Usually takes them a day. Let me see. If it does, we'll play it. Let's see. I don't know. No, see, there hadn't even been nothing on the news about it today. Yeah, it's tragic all the way around. A 2-year-old baby lost his life. You know what I'm saying? Hey, shout out to the homie Hangout. So Josh was paying attention to that. That's why I told Josh he'd come do this one with me if he wanted to, because he was paying attention to this too. Yeah, Ivan Cantu. Yeah, he just passed not too long ago. They executed him. Yeah, Wayne. It literally said breaking news or something at 6 o'clock news. I should have set this video up a little bit better. I would have been able to do it. Let me see if I can do it like this. I don't know, man. I didn't set it up right. Hold on. Library. That was at the 5:30 news. Yeah, and you know what? I don't think I can pull it up. I literally turned the DVR on for it, but I'll catch it on 10 o'clock news. The people that testified blamed the bruising on the Hey Josh, what's up? They blame the bruising on the face on the doctors that had to resuscitate at the hospital. So I mean, I can get that too, right? I can understand. So I think the homie hangout is going. Homie hangout is really good at breaking things down with the law side too. So that'll be a good one if he joins us here. Let's see. Appreciate y'all waiting with me. I wasn't ready for this one tonight. Death Star, what's up? But when I seen it, I realized, oh, I need to get my daughter in bed, and I need to talk about this tonight. Hold on. All right, y'all. So, give me 1 second. Let me go grab my little earbuds right there, and he's gonna join in with us too. Excuse me, y'all. And man, I tell you what, my daughter, she had pink eye the other day. Had to take her to the hospital, get some of those, well, urgent care, get some antibiotic drops for her. And then now she has an earache, ear infection. I don't know what the hell's going on. Well, school kicks her ass, but I'm not sure why she would have an ear infection like that. She said the other day it hurt, but she said that after that it wasn't hurting again. But I don't know. I gotta take it to the dentist too. Getting old, man. Been old. That's the worst thing you can do to yourself too, is lie to yourself when you're getting old and say you're not. I swear. Don't ever lie to yourself. Just go ahead and admit it and embrace it, huh? When my truck caught on fire, I had a truck fire the other day, y'all. When my truck caught on fire, I literally had to get out and run full speed. And I had been sitting for hours, no stretching, no nothing. When I get out and I'm running full speed on the blacktop concrete, now I'm thinking, oh man, this ain't as like it used to be. Sore as hell. All right, I think I got them ready to see if old Josh can pop in. Jumpman Wansky, what's up? Salute. I had the most basic trolls. They aren't even funny or clever. Well, come on, most trolls aren't clever, for sure. Imagine somebody named Your Mama asking me if I dropped the soap. No, fool. Your mama did. Ha ha. Fucking dumbass. Somebody was stealing the used soap. Should get a Supermax green screen. What's that look like? So it's like Supermax prison? That'd be dope. Coming to hook me up. Let me see. Hey, I'll send it to your phone, Josh. I'll send it to your phone. I don't know, I don't think you can drop links in the chat. I don't know how you get it to your computer from your phone, though. Miss T, go on, drop one of them $1 million super chats, Miss T. We know you're rich. In case you didn't know, homie hangout, I see you in your chat too. Miss T is rich. One of these days, I'm gonna see a 6-figure one. I just know it's coming. Hey, shit, B, that nut hair soap is for real. Shout out to Gypsy. Gypsy sent me a picture of a bar. Well, hold on. I mean, Mike can try it right here. I just don't think you can do it. You can cut and paste it right there into your browser. Yeah, Gypsy liked that story so much. She sent me a picture because she draws of a nut hair bar soap. Starving student, cut it out. You spend more feeding them cats than I do living. That's for sure. Abe, what's up, Abe? Salute. We're getting ready to start here with the homie hangout. My friend from Northern California. We can work it out. We just talked about being old. Y'all know technology is not our forte. Although he surpassed me a little bit, he's starting to figure shit out. A picture. Hey, it was just a big, what do you say, hand-drawn bar of soap with a bunch of little curlies on it. She thought that shit was hilarious, too. If she pops in the comment, I'm going to mess with her about it. Socrates, salute. We're all convict felons here. We don't vote. But I respect your opinion. Only vote we want in Texas prison stories is to get the vote for parole. Hey, D-Pat, I don't know, man. Honest to God. Yeah, last time everybody thought Trump was going to win, too. Look what happened. I'm not very political. I do watch. I pay attention, but, man, I know we can vote. I'm just fucking with them. I just don't feel like our vote matters too much. Real true fact. There you go. Look. Excuse me, y'all.
Let me shoot this. What's going on, man?
There you go, homie. Hangout. What's up, bro? How you doing?
Man, doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. If you want to hit that restream, that'll be dope. If not, all good.
That is what I'm doing right now. Let me pick the audiences.
All right, you let me know when it gets started, and we'll officially start then. And I'll take that banner down. And somewhere, I don't remember how to do this. They changed the studio a little bit.
Little bit, Alright, something like that.
There it goes. Okay. Let me know when you're ready over there.
Let's go. Oh, I guess I could have changed my little thing right here. No, but I'm good though. I can talk at the same time. We can do this.
Okay. Well, I want your people to know what the hell we're talking about too, because I don't think that case has hit the media too much out there in California like it has here. It's been. Like
It hasn't.
No, yeah, it's been steady news in Texas.
Yeah, I first heard about it from a subscriber from Texas, I'm sure, right? I was like, "Hey man, have you heard of this?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't. Like, what is that?" And then, and then I started, paying attention a little bit and looking it up a little bit, but then I saw what you had posted over the weekend, and that really, helped shed some light on it too.
So after you watch, not being a person, because I remember the case from 2002 from the time it happened, right? I remember the whole
Okay.
journey of this, yeah, because that made big news around here. Now, watching that Dr. Phil testify and all that, what's the take that you took from it? Like, what was the final? Because I seen you in the comments and you were opinionating and everything. Can you tell the people that what an outsider looking in, what it looked like watching this?
Yeah, it looked like the guy who I'm guessing is the child's father, right? Because the relationship wasn't quite made clear in what I'd heard, but assuming, yeah, the father. So the child passes away, and they rush to blame somebody. But this whole notion of shaken baby syndrome, it's not a medical term. That's a legal term, right? It was a legal term that they would throw around in court to try to help the jury understand, well, how the kid die? Shaken baby syndrome. It's this undefined shit. It's like SIDS, right? Sudden infant death syndrome. Well, the kid put the kid to sleep. Kid didn't wake up. There must be SIDS. It's this catch-all term. But now you're prosecuting people. Like, it's one thing if doctors want to say, hey, this is this generic term, but it's another thing for courts to convict people, much less put them on death row for this stuff. And so what Dr. Phil was saying, which people can feel how they feel about the dude or his character or his TV show or whatever. I'm not some big Dr. Phil supporter. I'm not some big Dr. Phil hater. I'm not that passionate about the dude, right? Um, but he is a licensed clinical psychologist. He was licensed up until 2006 when he stopped pursuing his license. Um, but the dude got his law license before, or his doctorate before I was born, 1976. I was born in 77. You know, so and I know for a fact, even before this case, that he has done a lot of work on legal cases, right? So this case is very much within the realm of his expertise as a clinician, independent of whatever other talk show stuff that he's done. And the information that never made it to the jury would lead any reasonable jury to reach a different conclusion. And I found it interesting. Dr. Phil has said, and I'm going to wind up doing a video about this, but you know how Dr. Phil had said, look, there's no crime here. It's not that you got the wrong guy. It's the child had pneumonia, had these breathing issues, the child's whole life, right? Child was 2 years old, had been to the hospital or the hospital 40 plus times, 46 times, I think. It had a long documented history. And the father only had the child for like a month or two of his 2 years of life. So it's not the father's responsibility, fault that the child is sick. The child been sick. However that happened or whatever, it's its own thing.
Can I stop and ask you something? Because I know
Yeah.
you dealt with family court and stuff like
Yeah.
that a lot, right? I've seen you do some stuff like very knowledgeable about family court. So I know this is Texas and that's California, but just generally speaking, is it normal or how difficult would it be for a father that with autism, high level, like, so you got low functioning autistic people, high functioning. I think this guy obviously is somewhere in the middle. Is that normal that a judge would provide him with full custody of a child, you think?
It leads me to think, and of course, just, it's just a thought, right? But something had to be going on with the mother or whoever had the child before him for the judge to award that, right? And not like discrimination against autistic people, but and it's having autism doesn't mean you're going to be a bad parent, right? Having autism doesn't mean that you're prone to violence. Having autism doesn't mean anything beyond the fact that you have autism. Other than that, it's a case-by-case basis. So I don't think there's anything wrong with awarding the father custody, but normally if you have a situation in which the parents are split up, the child is going to be with the parent who's most stable and most able to provide. And so if the judge felt like this father was more stable than the mother, I think that says a little something about the mother.
Right. So, I mean, to me, it means like the mother either must be extinct, like she's not even alive, period, incarcerated, or so bad on dope or something, right, that she just wasn't even an option. Or it can, as a parent, what happens if a court is looking for a parent and one of them just refuses and just says straight up, I don't want this kid? Is that realistic? Can you do that?
You can, but that doesn't mean that the other parent automatically gets the child, right? So if let's say you have, and it's very kind of stereotypical, but let's say you have one parent who's a drug addict and an alcoholic, right? You have another parent who's just an alcoholic, but they're not a drug addict.
Right.
And the alcoholic parent decides, I don't want the kid. I'm cool. That doesn't mean then that the drug addict alcoholic parent gets the kid, right? Then the kid can go into the system or whatever the case may be. We got the echo. What's up, Wack?
No, I fixed it. My bad. Go ahead.
and so it, yes, there's rights built into being a parent for sure, but
That's my new son right here. Keep my bed.
I see, that's dope. Uh, it doesn't mean that the so parents have rights, but if you're not capable of parenting, the court doesn't have a problem generally taking your kid from you, right? And so, yes, choose the best option between the two parents if there's an imbalance. Um, but if there's not a good option, then that's what we have a whole child welfare system, right? Which is a mess, but it's not as if the judge is like, oh, here's it's a kid that we're gonna go put in a doorway on the street somewhere and be homeless. They'll find a place for him.
So here's my question. All right, now to that we don't get too far off. Now, in your opinion, somebody that's dealt with this court system, and I believe personally too in life, do you think that, I mean, if he is guilty, if he's stone cold, just shook that baby, killed it, and murdered it, how is there any responsibility on a judge after that decision? Like the judge kind of should have known, or is the judge hands clean and it's just over?
Morally, right? Like, so public opinion, of course, there would be people who would say that, but in terms of actual accountability, a family court judge would never be held accountable.
No.
You have family court judges that have assigned custody to parents, and then those parents, in a very direct way, like with a weapon type stuff, wind up taking a life for their child, which is tragic. And I would imagine, hopefully, that the family court judge probably should lose some sleep over it and feel a level of remorse. But they can't get in trouble because there's no way. You could say what they should have known, but judges, it's hard for a judge to get in trouble in this country, man. It's hard for a judge. Now, some places judges are elected, and so in that case, you may lose the next election, but it's hard to punish a judge, and there's really no room to punish them for those types of decisions. That's what they're there for, right? To make a judgment call. But in this case, I think that Roberson's autism is a factor in the prosecution and is a factor in him getting convicted but I don't think it's a factor in terms of the welfare of the child. I don't think he hurt the kid. The child,
Well, so
it
hold on.
appears.
Listen, so here's what you missed on the Houston News today at 6 o'clock. They had, so I wanted you to say all that, right? Because that's what I was riding on too with the Dr. Field thing. A juror, one of the 12 jurors that convicted him, made a statement to the news, and they were talking about that the baby, that he didn't make the conviction solely on shaken baby syndrome, that the baby had a crushed skull and a bruised face also, like it had been abused. So with the jurors saying they had presented them the evidence of a caved in skull and a contused face, why do you think Dr. Field would never say anything about that? Surely he had to know, right?
He mentioned he would have, he would have to know, because he said he read all the trial transcripts and he said he read all the reports from the doctors, and so, he didn't mention the caved skull. He did mention the bruising, and I think chalked it up as the bruising wasn't a cause of death type bruising, like not sure why the kid is bruised, but the kid didn't bite.
In my comments said their reasoning for the bruising was from resuscitation in the hospital, like mouth to mouth, and trying to help it, but that does not explain the caved-in skull or why Dr. Field. So, with this being said, did you also hear, and this is what shocked me, Dr. Field mentioned 3 instances of the baby having anal tears?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, right hand to the man. I know he didn't. So so they asked Dr. Field, do you remember any or recall any talk of any sexual abuse. And he said, yes, there was 3 accounts of anal tearing, but it was not allowed in the trial. And the jury was told to disregard that evidence and not decide on it, right? And
So what I remember was, from what I recall, Dr. Phil had said in the clip that you had been playing over the weekend, he said that sexual abuse was brought up in the opening statements by the prosecutor, but that then throughout the course of the trial, it was never again mentioned or brought up or addressed whatsoever. And therefore, in closing arguments for the defense, they were left with the strategic decision of, do you remind the jury, hey, we heard this during opening arguments, or you heard this during opening arguments, but you saw no evidence of it? Or, as a way to say, look, they're just bullshitting. They told you they was going to tell you about something that they never told you about. Or do you not mention it because you don't want to remind them that it came up in the opening statements? But I don't recall him ever saying anything about the medical part.
It was a very brief mention of it, right? Like, of course, Phil didn't want to emphasize that because he's on the team that wants that not to be mentioned. And if somebody's watching, I do know for a fact, like, so if they do that and they say that even in opening statements and you don't object to it right at that moment, where they're going to either say, we're going to prove this or we're not, that would be grounds for, or say you object to that, I believe, and they say, Your Honor, we're going to later show proof to why we said this, and they never do it. I believe that would be his grounds for, a retrial right there.
So it sounds like, based on what you're saying, and obviously I believe you, but I take your word for it. If there was medical record of those tears, then it makes sense why the prosecutor would mention it in the opening statements. But then, as we know, during a trial, it's a back and forth that happens outside the presence of the jury as to what evidence is going to be allowed and what isn't. Well, at the start of the trial, if that wasn't addressed pre-trial, then the prosecutor's thinking, I got this report of these tears that I'm going to talk about in the trial. So yes, I'm going to mention it in opening statements because I have it that I'm going to talk about. But when it comes time to talk about it, the defense objects. The judge sides with the defense for whatever reason and says, no, you can't talk about it. In that case, then the prosecutor's not wrong for mentioning it because they did have evidence of it that they planned to introduce, but the judge said that they couldn't. You know what I mean? So then, in that case, if the defense would have turned around and said, but see, this just should be known.
But listen, so as they also said in that just the name and charge, shaken baby syndrome, implies guilt, right? Like, hey, man, he's here for shaken baby syndrome. It's going to be damn near to the jury implying guilt. So does that. At the same time, like, hey, man, if I'm a juror, I only need to hear them mention him sexually assaulting his child probably one time, and I'm not going to forget that the rest of the trial. He's probably already guilty. You know what? And that's a fucking crazy thing right there for it.
Well, and I don't think... And I get where Dr. Phil was going when he was saying that the description implies guilt. But I don't agree with his thinking at the trial because I understand the idea that shaken baby syndrome is kind of this made up term that really shouldn't be used. Okay, that's fine. But when you're in court and you're charged with a crime, no matter what you're charged with, it does imply guilt. If I'm on trial for murder, that's telling the jury that the state believes that I ended the fucking life of somebody. Like, it's, of course, now they have to prove it, right? But the charges by definition, if if I'm charged with robbery and I take it to the box, there's an insinuation to the jury, not even an insinuation, it's a flat out accusation by the state that I robbed somebody. Now, again, they have to prove it, and hopefully the jury requires that they prove it beyond a reasonable doubt rather than just assume I must be guilty because I'm charged with it. But so in that logic, I don't see no difference between he's charged with shaken baby syndrome, he's charged with robbery, he's charged with murder. You charged with something. But
Yeah, so
it
I feel it both ways.
you know.
You know what I mean? It's just such of a stigma. So I believe there's more of a stigmatism with you shaking a baby and killing it than it is robbing a guy at the gas station and shooting him.
Oh yeah, I don't think the crimes are equal. Yeah, I don't think the crimes are equal on a moral level at all.
Right.
Maybe what his argument was is, so shaken baby syndrome, again, if it sounds like it's a medical term, right? Like murder's not a medical term, that's a crime, right? Robbery's not it's a crime. Shaken baby syndrome sounds like, oh, the cause of the death of the child is shaken baby syndrome, which means somebody must have shaken that baby in order for it to die. And they're saying that this is the person that did it. So I guess in that way of thinking, I get it, rather than, this person died from a gunshot wound. Okay, somebody shot them, but there are some situations where it's illegal for me to shoot somebody. And there's situations where it's not legal. But never is it okay to shake a baby. So I guess I sort of understand where he was going with it, but
Right.
I gotta do some more digging around.
So I do too, because listen, we're the age where, when did shaken baby syndrome become junk science? Because we've seen it all on the news our entire life, dog. Like, it was normal. There were people going to jail for it. It was happening. And
I seen
like
a homeboy
Phil
get.
said, surely you can kill a baby if you try to, right? But what it was basically, they were using that for shit that they couldn't explain, and that's what they were doing, right? But it throws me off, Josh, when I hear about the anal issue and the caved-in cranium, dog. I don't think I stand for this guy no more. I think they need to go ahead and stop wasting our time now. I'm serious. I've changed my mind since the news today.
But now, he only had the child for a short period of time, right? I'd like to know more details about that piece. I understand the juror said this, right? I'd like to hear somebody who's not a juror explain this, because were those tears present during the autopsy? Were those tears from when the kid went to the doctor 6 months ago? Because they said the kid went to the hospital 40 some odd times during his life, right? During the 23 months of his life. So were those tears 6 months prior? Because if so, then the child wasn't with the dad when that happened, right?
Right.
Is with the caved-in cranium.
So I don't feel he would even have his child still at all if anybody knew about some anal tears. That's why this is so confusing. And the stories that we're getting biased stories from both sides. From Greg Abbott, the governor, and them, they're all kill, kill, kill. And they're releasing this shit saying all the dastardly deeds. Then we got Dr. Phil and the Innocence Project and all them going innocent, innocent, innocent. Bro, there's nothing being released to us in the middle right now. What the hell's going on?
Well, and that's what I said is, so I think as somebody who has done some expert work in cases, right? I'm independent. I only work for the defense, but I'm independent. Especially a case of this magnitude, and a person like Dr. Phil, who truly is a civilian and always has been type of deal, right? If that makes sense. If you're gonna step in and offer an opinion on this case, you got to be able to address everything, you know, and even the stuff that looks bad.
Right.
You gotta be able to speak to that too. You can't just selectively point to it. But see, if those tears were from a prior doctor visit prior to Robert Roberson having his child, then no, those tears aren't relevant to the death of the child.
And it's
Because
possible that those tears are why Robert Roberson even has his kid for these two and
right,
a half months.
that's
This
what
is
I'm
the
saying.
shit
Is
we don't know.
so if because Dr. Phil went through a lot of the medical stuff with detail. So again, I'd want the time frames of that stuff because he said that the child died from the lung disease that it had and from being given a codeine and promethazine by the doctors and given medicine back then that now is illegal to give children and is blacklisted to give
Well,
children
so
with
listen,
lung issues. So
promethazine with codeine, the name they give you is Finnegan, right? He
yeah,
mentioned one time Finnegan with codeine. Then he said promethazine or something is how he
which I
pronounced it.
thought
I've
was
never heard that.
promethazine.
It
Yeah, I
is
never heard it
promethazine.
pronounced like that, but I was
So
like, but
for
it gave the
for
kid
the
lean.
but listen,
Shit.
that's what I was gonna say. For the people that ain't paying attention, that's what the drink. That's what the rappers drink. That's what
Right.
NBA YoungBoy just went to 60 something pharmacies to
But
get. Yes, it's the lowest dose opiate that you can get. Right, a heroin addict would laugh at that shit, but a grandma, a man, period, a kid, especially a baby, that's enough to
a
kill them
20
right
pound
there.
2-year-old. Yeah.
A 20-pound 2-year-old gets no opiates,
No.
nothing. And so what they did say is that he'd seen two different doctors, and I guess they unwittingly, unknowingly wrote the baby two different prescriptions. Now dad is autistic, not knowing, oh, I'm giving this baby the same thing twice, right? So that definitely could have played a serious part because you know what it does? It suppresses breathing
Right.
big time. That's what it
And
does. It's a cough syrup.
it's a child who had a lung infection and had persistent breathing issues throughout her life, and he said had a particular bacteria in the lungs that was necrotizing, I believe is the way he put it, but basically was eating at the flesh of the lung, right? But that's a bacteria, that's an infection, that's not being shaken, that's not from abuse, that is some
Well,
that is an
something else
illness.
I read somewhere else said that same thing can cause brain hemorrhaging also, which is one of the main signs why they said shaken baby. All of this is yes. Until now, I'm seeing this news report saying the concussed caved in skull. Though it's like, did it baby
Yeah,
have all this shit going on and he cracked its head open? Man, this is bothering me, man. I'm
right.
telling you.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the cave skull part. I'm curious
Let me see if
of
I can pull up something yet.
Dr. Phil said it was reported in the ER the day of the incident. Salute to the chat too, man. I see you guys. Um you guys know how it goes. Even on my channel, when I got a guest, I tend to focus on the guest and I miss stuff in the chat. But I see you guys, man. I appreciate you. Even the fans that talk reckless, I appreciate you guys too.
Oh, we got the trolls in there too.
I love it.
Somebody
I
said I
love it.
try too hard to sound Mexican. Man, I've never heard that before. Everybody always says I sound black. That's how stupid
Really?
trolls are. Trolls are retarded.
Yeah, it's
Um,
good. I just take them all.
let me see. So the last
So,
thing
Mr.
is 2
Crowley.
hours ago. So look, this is 2 hours ago. It says the legal standoff continues over Texas death row inmate Robert Roberson and a subpoena calling him to testify before the Texas House Committee. The Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is blocking Roberson from testifying in person. There's no telling if and when he'll get to testify himself. Nevertheless, the subpoena is why Roberson is still alive. So, see, listen, what had
Yeah.
happened was they had his date. He came within hours of actually being executed. They had the bed prepared for him, everything. They had his time. It was going to be 6 p.m. Well, they could figure no way to redo his case, no appeals, no anything. The governor was unwilling to try anything. the only thing they could figure was a legal binding subpoena,
Right.
bro. So they whipped up a whole House
It was
Senate hearing
slick.
thing.
It was very, very slick what they did.
I
Yeah.
believe it's unprecedented. Have you ever heard of
Yeah.
anything like that before?
No, it's absolutely unprecedented. That's why I say it was when I was in the chat yesterday on your channel. Somebody said, so basically this is a filibuster, right? And I was like, man, that's a really great analogy. It's an interesting
That was a
one.
good one. I seen that.
But essentially that's what they're doing, right? Is they're, because a filibuster is you just keep the business of Congress going so that a decision can't be made. Hey, we're not done. We're still doing shit. So we can't vote because we're doing stuff. We're doing stuff. We're doing it. And people up there talking all night long. We're doing stuff. We're doing stuff. We can't vote. It's a procrastination tool. That's basically what they did. They said, hey, you can't kill a man. Here's a subpoena. Oh, well, shit. But it's causing different branches of government now. People don't really know what to do. And the courts are getting involved. But
So the court actually has zero power. That's the crazy part. The thing that they subpoenaed him to had no power to make any decision. There was nothing that they could accomplish other than prolong his death, right? That was it.
Yeah.
Like, prolong his fucking agonization, dog. I feel like if all this shit doesn't work, then what a fucking dicks they were for, like, literally prolonging his agonization. But look at this. So it says, executions in Texas usually draw little media attention. But that changed when a bipartisan group of state lawmakers said Roberson was likely innocent of murdering his 2-year-old daughter, Nikki. And you know what? That's the first time I've ever heard a name put to it. And it makes it a little more real when you hear a name put to it,
Yeah.
right? Prosecutors said Nikki died from a debunked shaken baby syndrome. Experts say it's more likely she died from pneumonia and Roberson is innocent. But Texas was determined to execute him anyway. The courts declined to hear new exonerating evidence. Governor Greg Abbott refused to give Roberson a 30-day reprieve, and Attorney General Paxton fought to have Roberson executed despite the subpoena. Well, it's very consistent in my experience with governors and attorney generals in that they take a harsh stance towards carrying out sentences, said Sam Bassett.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all this story, right? All it mentions is the shaken baby and the pneumonia. Nowhere does it say anything about this. So I'm going to have to do an update tomorrow. This is my fault right here for not having that clip ready. But I swear I seen it, man. I wouldn't come on here live and just make that shit
no,
up.
I know. No, you're good. You're good. I see Excavation 99 said Chiefs Super Bowl champions 2024. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you for reminding me. That was.
Oh man, that's cold.
What's
Boy,
up,
these commenters
XIV9?
is something else, man. That's one
Yeah.
thing about these, especially
Take your
these
shots.
vertical lines. Boy, you getting some crazy
Yeah.
ones. Where
Yeah, I
the
ain't
nudists?
mad.
Look, Chill Chili said, "Where are the nudists? They're on the back of the cell block back there with the baby oil. We're up in the front with the men up here." No, man. Some of this shit. But yeah, so listen though, man. This whole thing is just an example of why I don't like speaking on stuff and making a stand, bro, on shit. Because then you make this stand. I make these videos saying, "Get this man his retrial. He's innocent." Blah blah blah, and then some more shit comes out.
I don't think you're. I still wouldn't say you're wrong. You might be being a little too hard on yourself. YouTube Streets in the building. Sakura 916. All kinds of people out there, man. I see you
I
guys.
seen y'all talking about me yesterday. I was watching.
I appreciate
that when they
you
played
guys.
my video yesterday.
Yeah. I told him
Hey,
go ahead and do it,
can
man.
I
Tim ain't
explain
gonna
something?
get you.
Let me explain
Tim ain't
something
gonna
to them
get you, man.
dudes. Let
Yeah.
me explain something to them dudes. I ain't had no beef with nobody in that video, really.
Right.
Nobody. But here's the thing, man. I don't owe nobody in that video nothing, right? Not nothing. Do I owe nobody on YouTube? Nobody made me. Nobody. I owe no favors. I know nothing. And it was just good comedy, man. It was just trying to be funny. Like, it wasn't. If you can't come on this platform and laugh at yourself, you probably shouldn't be on this platform, you know. But nah, it wasn't no beef, man. And if anybody took that as that, I'm sorry for them.
Man,
You know,
it was great.
I
It was
had
great
one with
content.
you beating up on G Face. You didn't
I
even say
seen
nothing
that.
about it.
I seen it. No, I seen it, and I did say so. It's good content, man. I was laughing about it.
You know, you laughed when Gunner popped out in that
So
field.
I
Couldn't speak
did,
Spanish.
yeah. Yeah, I laughed. Every part of it was funny, all of them.
Man, it was just comedy, man. I wasn't trying to like have no enemies or nothing though.
No, man, this shit was comedy. So, in terms of taking a stand and all that, I hear what you're saying, right? And I agree, right? There's a responsibility, right? And I know you take that responsibility seriously. To me, yes, there's the issue of this case, and then there's a bigger question, and actually, Dr. Phil had brought this up as well, right? This case is central. It may turn out to be central to the future of the death penalty, right? So keep in mind, a lot of states in the U.S. are moving away from that, right? They're moving away from capital punishment in one form or fashion. If the majority of states, because we still operate as a country, right? So if the majority of states go anti-capital punishment, there's a legal strategy. Hold on. Right on, baby. Thank you. Dinner's being served. It's just fire too, man. Let me see what we got right here. We got
Already.
man, come on now.
There?
Some stew is. I can't hold it at an angle. I'll spill it, but
Yeah, you better
this
not.
man, this been sitting in the crock pot all day. I've been smelling this for the last 3 hours, waiting. Like, man, when's it gonna be ready? She texted me, was like, "Man, dinner's done. You want me to bring it in?" Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Anyway, so, it is central to the death penalty because if you are in favor of capital punishment, which I know that a lot of people in Texas in particular are, right?
Big
If
time,
you're
yeah.
in favor of capital punishment, you want to be able to say, I would hope, you want to be able to say, hey, the folks that we knocked down, when we put you in the chair, you're guilty, right? You're getting executed because you did something that you're not allowed to do, and it was so bad that we feel like, man, that's a wrap for you. We're not paying for you to stay in jail for life. It's game over, right? And because you are guilty. If there's a risk that not guilty people are being executed, that then puts capital punishment at risk, right? If people start believing, man, there's a chance that some of these folks being executed, even one of these folks being executed, isn't guilty of the crime that they were convicted of. Okay, well then how in good conscience can you still turn around and be like, you know what, zap them anyway? So
let me say something, Josh. I really think that's what all this was about. It wasn't about this particular man, this autistic ass dude, right? It was from. So I say it all the time. The thing that the Texas politicians and especially prison system, we don't get a lot of media coverage here. They do media blackouts on purpose here, right? For all that shit. So I believe this with Dr. Phil and also John Grisham, the author from Pelican Brief and all those movies.
Yeah.
He came and spoke afterwards. They put so much attention on it, and Phil literally said, "This is putting your death penalty at risk here." I think what you said is deep. Like I totally agree with it. You're the first person that really vocalized it like that. Like they are, instead of worrying about getting it right or wrong with this man in his life, they're more worried about looking like they get it wrong here because they want that death penalty to continue rolling. You think that's right?
yeah, and here's the thing. If people make mistakes, right? Everybody does. We're humans, we're fallible. The system doesn't always get it right. Okay? We know that. Blake Combs was saying, what percentage are really not guilty? Let's be honest. I think it's a very small percentage. But what I would say is this. If one innocent person is executed by our government, that is one too many. If we have a system, now we know that people get incarcerated, and a small fraction of those people are actually innocent, right? And we find that out, and okay, cool. There's apologies, might be a little check, whatever. It is absolutely a small number of folks
Well, say,
who
can
go
I
to
cut
prison
in
for
right
shit
there?
that
Let me answer that, because if that's one of my viewers, I just did a story. There's a Houston officer named Juror that just received 60 years, bro. Listen what he did. He lied. He lied to get a search warrant on this house. He basically claimed there was a confidential informant that didn't exist. They did a no-knock search warrant in there, and two innocent people ended up dead. So they gave him 60 years. But they also, all the people in the comments and everybody that knew him had said they called him Pac-Man, like the officer off colors, because he would beat people up and railroading and false imprisoning them his entire career. So just one crooked police officer, one dirty cop, might be responsible for hundreds of innocent people in prison. And when you really look at it like that.
Fair enough. That's what, and we've got entire police departments right now that are under federal oversight in California for the same thing, right? It's I got a dude right now that's sitting there, Mac Dre. A lot of people familiar with the rapper Mac Dre, and there was what was considered retaliation murders done in Vegas behind that, right? And two dudes got arrested. This dude, Cocaine Cowboy, which they don't call him Cocaine Cowboy, oddly enough, in the media, but his name was Cocaine Cowboy, and this other cat, I forget his name. I can't think of his name on top, and he's actually the more popular one, but I can't think of it. But nonetheless, these two dudes are convicted, right? But they're convicted. My guy gets busted in San Francisco. One of the things against him is his baby's mom telling on him. I have on my channel the video of his baby's mama telling on him, quote unquote, for all kinds of stuff, right? The actual police interrogation video. I also have messages from her telling me, I'm sorry, I lied. And I told the police that I lied. I did that because I was mad at him, because he was messing with this other little bitch. Da, 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 da. So she watched TV, and I pointed out in the video, like, all the shit that she's saying she knows is shit that she seen on TV. Like, it's all public stuff. So she lied on this dude. Their informant, right, that said, oh, I had a conversation with him on a footbridge in Las Vegas. That individual was incarcerated out of state in a federal facility at the time that he supposedly had the conversation with my dude on the bridge. Yet he's still doing 4 life sentences in the Nevada prison system. So there are people that are innocent that are locked up. I'm just being realistic that of all the hundreds of thousands of millions of people that get incarcerated in this country, the vast majority are guilty, right? It ain't a whole lot. But when it comes to the death penalty, there's no runbacks. If you execute an innocent person, you lose the right, if you will, in my view. The government then loses the power to ever execute somebody again. If you get this shit wrong once, how can I ever trust you again? Like, this is not the hood. You're not the ops. This is not enemies. You're the fucking government.
You know what a Texan will tell you? In every war, there's a little bit of collateral damage. They don't give a shit here, man. Hey, one innocent guy get convicted, and he doesn't look like them. Like, he's Hispanic, he's black, he's got tattoos on it. They don't give a damn. Oh, that was just sorry for him, but we got to keep this death penalty. They love this shit down here. Every few weeks, they're killing somebody.
Well, and they'll turn around and be like, hey, they was guilty of something. Maybe they weren't guilty that time. Yeah. But I've never been accused by the police of selling drugs because I've never sold drugs. If he was accused, he must have been selling drugs before. So there's always that kind of stuff. But I think Texas getting it right with this dude. Texas saying, hey, we're not going to fucking open a door and let the dude out tomorrow. But what we will do is pause. We're going to retry. We're going to look at this. Enough questions have been raised about his innocence. And for this guy, it's not eyewitness testimony that changed over the years, this or that. It's science. And my understanding from listening to Dr. Phil's testimony, and it makes sense to me because I know that this is how stuff works. I don't know about this particular condition, but it kind of passes the smell test of, hey, back then, this is what the science was. Today, the science is different. So if you called a medical expert back when this dude was convicted in the 90s or 80s, whenever the fuck it was, right? If you called a doctor back then, they would say this is how things work. But if you called that same doctor today, they would have a different explanation of this is how things work because we have better science. We have, we've learned more. And if that's the case, and you're talking about executing somebody, I think you have to go based on the most current accurate science. If you bring in a medical expert today and say, hey, based on these factors, is this the only explanation for this now? Nah, man, that ain't the only explanation. I'm looking for these other things too. Okay, well then, and now maybe give him a new trial with the new medical information, and if he's guilty, he's guilty. You don't lose the opportunity to execute him in a month or 6 months or a year. Again, nobody is saying, I don't want to say nobody's saying, but I'm not saying open the doors up tomorrow and let the dude out. But there needs to be a legal hearing, a court hearing, a criminal court investigation into this, and not a political one.
Can I ask you something?
Of course.
So if you watch this news clip later when I find it, and it literally is the juror saying the baby had a caved-in skull, will you change your opinion of everything? Or will you still say he probably needs a new trial?
First, tell me when this. I'd want to know more details. When was this caved-in skull? So you're listening to a layman say. So we think of a caved-in skull, right? As, your whole head is smashed in on the wall. Baby must have died right away. You have people, when folks die, that they get the autopsy and look at them and they recognize all kinds of bone trauma from earlier time in their life. So I need more than a juror telling me about a caved skull. I need what happened, like something more credible and something more scientific. Oh, the child had signs of had a cracked skull, but that cracked skull was 3 months old.
Right.
Okay, well then that's not relevant to the second baby syndrome case, right? That's what I mean. There has to be.
No, I get you.
Evidence. There's got to be some evidence. Jurors have opinions based on what they heard, and that's fine. And honestly, if I was a juror and I said that I thought he was guilty and I voted for death, I probably wouldn't want to be real excited to get on TV and say, "Hey, I fucked up."
No, I know, and especially that's what I'm saying. So, but now if you're a jury that voted for death and you feel like you didn't fuck up, how are you going to feel about Dr. Phil making TV shows saying you did fuck up? Ain't you going to want to come out and go, "No, man, the baby had a caved-in head. The baby had sexual abuse." Like, ain't you going to want to stand up for your decision also? Like it's seeming like what happened?
I would, except for me personally and my kind of personality is Dr. Phil's talking about a lot of stuff that the jury never heard. So if I'm a juror, I'm more upset that, hey, how is Dr. Phil's opinion based on shit that I never knew about?
Nah, for real. So that's deep.
You know what I'm saying?
Didn't look at it like that. Yeah, hell yeah. How does he know more than they do?
Right. So he's looking at it different, but he's hearing a bunch of shit that I didn't hear. He's reading stuff that I never got to read. So, yeah, okay, we reach a different conclusion, but because we're looking at a different case. You know what I'm saying? I got the coloring book version. He got the novel.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
now,
I'm gonna write a different book report.
Is this district attorney's fault or is this the defendant's fault? Like his lawyer's fault, though?
I think a little bit of both. So DAs are supposed to provide, at least in California state court, but I think this is kind of across the board. The DA is responsible to turn over exculpatory evidence. They have to turn over evidence that could be favorable to the defendant that they find during their investigation. But just because they give it to the defendant's attorney doesn't mean that the defendant's attorney is obligated to highlight it. Common sense would tell you, like, hey, here's a medical report that kind of goes against what the medical. I'm the DA. I'm going to show this report to the jury. Just so you know, there's a second report that says something different. Okay, but if your attorney chooses not to show that different report, fuck it, that's on you, homie. You know what I mean? I gave it to you. It sounds like the public defender was trash. It sounds like he locked in on this shaken baby thing too. Here, one of the key things I heard from Dr. Phil was the defense attorney opened the case. The defense attorney opened the case telling the jury this is a shaken baby syndrome case. Mm-hmm. And the argument was the level of culpability for this dude, the level of responsibility for the father, right? He did it, but did he mean to do what he did? That is a very different defense than this is not a case of shaken baby syndrome. This is a case of lung disease and a child who stopped breathing and was given medication.
But let me say something. Let me interject this, right? So if the baby truly did have a caved-in skull and a massively bruised face, perhaps this public defender was just realistic and like, this dude is about to be found guilty no matter what. Like, look at this baby's head. Look at these bruises. We might as well just go ahead and say shaken baby accident, because there's never been a time where somebody got the death sentence for shaken baby. It's always been considered a violent accident, and you cannot get the death penalty for violent accidents. So they took this to a different level. Do you think that's a possibility also, where he just realized my client is forcing me because he would not take a plea? Now, here's what's crazy. The man is autistic. He's not the best decision maker, and it's right. His constitutional right that he makes the decision whether he takes an offer or he goes to trial. Was his cognitive ability ever even evaluated? And it wasn't, right? They never even...
Right, it wasn't.
No, they never even diagnosed him as autistic during any of this. So any person that was not autistic and normal would have probably took a 20-year plea bargain or something like that on this. But being that this is Texas and they usually max you out when you go to trial, they somehow made a shaken baby case capital murder. Now that's something else we got to look in. Capital murder is like premeditated or actually murder to an infant. So I guess that's why it was capital murder. But you know what I'm saying? Like, this is so many sides to this case, man. It is unbelievable.
Well, and my understanding of the reason why Roberson refused to take the deal is because they were saying that he shook the kid, and he's saying that he never shook the kid, right? So he kept on, I didn't do that. Why do you keep talking about this action that never fucking happened? So I think it wasn't just I don't want to take the deal. It's, you keep talking about me doing something that I never did. And sure, a level of simplicity in his thinking and decision making, right? Of, well, they say I did this, but I didn't do this, so I'm not going to say that I did. You know, he's not probably able to look forward at, well, if you don't do this, and this could be the consequence. I think he's very one step at a time, very methodical, very matter of fact. Like, it's like they said, hey, why did you drive away? And he's like, because they told me to go. Like, why aren't you showing emotion? And there's a range, right? Autism is a spectrum, and I'm definitely not a doctor, but I've been around some autistic folks, and at least the ones I've been around, they are kind of like deadpan, and they're not highly emotional, and they're very literal, right? It's if you tell them, hey man, that shit's crazy, bro, go jump off a bridge, they will go jump off a fucking bridge. You know what I mean? They don't interpret. You have to be very literal, right? And they sort of, a lot of them are really, they follow direction really well, right?
Right.
Hey, I need you to do this.
You have to
Then
be
they're gonna
very
go do that.
careful what you tell them.
Right. And so he's being told, hey, say that you shook the baby. I'm not going to do it because I didn't shake the baby. If you tell them you shook the baby, then you can only go to prison for this long. But if you keep saying that you didn't, you're going to get the death penalty. None of that shit matters. I didn't shake the baby. I'm not going to say I shook the baby. I'm not going to say something that didn't happen.
But see, here's my point too. I agree with you, right? But him being autistic and only looking one step at a time, like you said, maybe the lawyer was just trying to help him out, dog. Maybe he was, only thing he could focus on is I didn't shake the baby, but
Right.
he's like, but look, man, the head is still caved in, it's still bruised up. I don't know. We just don't have enough information in this case, is all reality, do we? Because Dr. Phil had me thinking I knew everything until I seen that on the news today, and now I don't. Like,
I
one of
will
these
say the one
jurors are
thing
literally
is,
bitter about this, about how we felt about them. They're speaking out now, and I think more will come tomorrow, I'm sure.
yeah, I think part of it is, and why I give more credibility to Dr. Phil, and I could give a shit less about a celebrity status if this was Dr. Jackson or Dr. Jones, right? Like I don't care about his celebrity. I care more about his qualifications. And he's sitting in front of, I don't know if the state senate or whatever, right? And he's reading through the medical reports. He's reading through all of this stuff. He knows how this stuff works. I think of course you want to be persuasive for the side that you're working on, but he don't have an obligation to be on nobody's side.
Right.
He could, if he looked at this case and thought, you know what, man, there's a chance. It could be either way. It could be 50-50. He could have walked away. I've been brought in on gang cases where I'm like, look, man, I'll be honest with you. I don't have a whole lot to say that would be helpful, right? And just for my own integrity, if you put me up there and they ask me this question, this is my answer. And I feel like that answer will probably hurt you, right?
Right.
But you decide as the attorney, you decide. I'm just letting you know as the independent expert in the room, 1 + 1 is 2. And that's it. And then if you put me up there and ask me, I'm gonna say it. So Dr. Phil, it's not like he had to get in on this. If he read through all the medical stuff, I felt like in his statements, he didn't speak out of turn. He was clear. He said, hey, I did not do a full diagnosis on this dude. I had an hour-long conversation with him behind glass, and he's autistic. Like, it was limited. I got some impressions, and I have some experience, but I didn't do some whole full profile on him. With the medical stuff, he said, look, I'm not a physical doctor. I'm not a physician. I know how to read, though. I know what these terms mean. And I know what I'm reading, right? I'm intelligent enough to understand what I'm reading. And I'm just telling you, this is what I'm reading from the medical doctors. Oh, okay. Is what you're reading, did that ever go before the jury? No, the jury never heard this report. The jury never heard this. The jury never heard it. That's my issue, is that is all. I understand that not all information gets in front of a jury, right? That sometimes stuff is overly prejudicial, or it's this or it's that. I understand how that works. It's a case-by-case basis. But this shit is central to the case. And there's not even... there wasn't even an argument. This is why the dude lost all his appeals, because his attorney never tried to introduce that stuff. And you know, when you go to appellate court, they're not looking at guilt or innocence, they're looking at the fairness of your trial. And so if your attorney did not object to something during the trial, the appellate court is not going to look at it. They're going to say, hey, but you didn't object back then. Now, if they did object and it was overruled, you can appeal that and say, hey, we objected. The
That's
judge
what I was
declined
saying
it.
about the opening statement, saying about the sexual thing. They never objected to it, right? I guess not.
It's and so it's hard. This is a hard case because there's really not a lot for the appellate court to look at. Now, an IAC claim, an IOC claim, ineffective assistance of counsel. This is a perfect ineffective assistance of counsel case, in my opinion. But the dude Roberson doesn't have the access to the information and didn't have to be able to show just how ineffective his lawyer was. That information wasn't obtained until, because he's a death penalty person and somehow or another got on the radar, the Innocence Project or whatever, they have the resources to go back and find that shit, but he didn't. So he's filing, his appeals aren't, you can only appeal what you know about.
Right.
And there wasn't really bad decisions made in court so much. There was just bad decisions by his attorney at the time, and there was bad science. But nobody knew it was bad science. It was good science then. It's just now, almost 30 years later, that's not good science anymore.
Right. So when you're talking about the appeal, though, not knowing and everything, you're right on that, because the pneumonia deal and the lung thing somehow wasn't discovered and brought forward till later. Like, so his lawyer himself didn't even know that to bring it up. Stuff like that. Yeah, man. So what you're talking about in a death penalty case, you have to have a limit on appeals, right? There is a number of appeals, but they need to write into our law. So if we're going to keep this super active capital punishment death penalty thing that we have going in Texas, they're going to have to write a law, and that's probably what's going to happen right now, why they're involved in this. And Roberson will probably be the reason for this law, but they're still going to execute him. Watch, he's about to be a goner. He's out of there, dog. Trust me, they're about to do him soon. But there can never be a limit or a cap on new evidence that's relevant, right? It don't matter if your appeals are exhausted or not. And the way the system works is you exhaust your appeals, it's over. It doesn't matter. What do we got to do? Do you think that would help fix it? That even if your appeals are over, if there's some type of new evidence, man, it's got to freeze the death penalty, don't you think?
Yeah, but what they're going to say is, and I think it's reasonable. So I'm against the death penalty personally, right? My own personal beliefs. Not because I don't think that some people deserve to die for the crimes that they commit. I absolutely believe that. But I'm against the death penalty for this very reason. Because there is a chance that the system gets it wrong. And I just don't support state-sanctioned murder of people in a flawed system. Even if it's 1 out of 1,000,000. I'd rather people who do these ridiculous crimes just get kept in prison for life. I wish they put them in the general population so they can get dealt with. But, it's not as if we don't have the ability to keep dangerous people or predatory people out of society. That's what we have prisons for. We don't have to execute them. We can just keep them in prison forever. So I'm against the death penalty because one innocent person being killed is one too many. I think if they change the law, or if they add a law, they're going to want to write it in such a way that that loophole for the new evidence is going to have to be really specific. Maybe like, hey, new medical evidence, or if the science has changed. But what they're not going to want is new evidence. Oh shit, we found another witness, right? Because that's just that can be used as more stall tactics in these cases, like just stalling it out. And And that's what a lot of people who are in favor of the death penalty complain about now, right? Is the process, especially in other states, the process is too long. If you get convicted and you get sentenced to death, maybe we should fucking kill you the next day type thing. You know, they're already upset about how long it takes and all the appeals. So if Texas passes something, I think it'll be narrowly tailored to like, hey, if the science has changed, you know, then we'll look at it. But you know, a witness remembers something that they didn't remember 20 years ago. Nah, man, that shit don't count. You know.
Right.
I think you're right. I think there's a real chance, and you obviously know Texas infinitely better than I do. It's hard with this dude, man, because his death warrant's already been signed. It's done. There's only so many legal maneuvers, and like you said, this governor don't care. It is to his political advantage. I think in his mind, right? It's to his political advantage to execute this dude, and almost more to his political advantage because there is a controversy, and he's gonna be the strong man that I don't give a fuck about the controversy. Facts be damned, new information, new evidence. Like that's kind of like how people of that mindset think, right? And that's what their appeal is. This is what I say. Well, wait, but it's wrong. There's no, fuck everybody. I'm doing it. And I mean, so that's how Trump got elected, right? Is that attitude?
Can I change gears on you for 1 second? Because this will be a topic that I know you got a big Hispanic audience. And shout out to all you people, Northern Cal. And in case y'all are wondering what's going on,
Southern California too, but I'm from Northern California.
Shout out to the whole Cali, but he's wearing his 49ers hat. So I'm repping for Southern Cal right now with this Dodgers cap on. You already know.
You are.
But so we are doing a stream on his 2 channels and my channel also. So here's something that I bet you didn't hear about. You know, we got we had Rick Perry. Rick Perry was heavy into like the border stuff too. You know what I'm saying?
I remember.
His attorney general is our governor now, though, right? And this is Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott, good for the economy, tough on crime, though. So he passed a bill, a state bill. We made it the first ever state where it's now considered a state crime to be an illegal alien. Have you seen that? Or illegal? So they get mad when I say illegal alien. Illegal migrant. It's now a state crime. Did you hear about that?
Mm-hmm.
First one's going to be a misdemeanor. The second one, misdemeanor, but the third one, state jail felony, and your fourth one is going to be a real TDC prison felony. So you're not until your third one does it become a felony. But boy, if they start catching those, that's going to overwhelm. Like he's overwhelming these Harris County itself, bro. That's Houston, so overcrowded that they have to send people to Louisiana, send people to West Texas, and all this. How the hell are we supposed to deal with this? This was the most unrealistic law I've ever seen.
Well, and
that food looks good. He's always eating something good on his shit.
Man, I just couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
Hungry and you're eating, yeah.
I'm sorry. I was sitting right from I was trying to, but so that shit sounds good for the politics, right? It he's appealing to his base. Practically speaking, it don't make a whole lot of sense. Because, from my understanding, but correct me if I'm wrong, if you're in this country illegally, in Texas, and you get arrested, they hand you over to the feds, right? To kick your ass back to the other side of the border.
So they didn't used to. They didn't used to growing up, right? Now, if it's a serious felony, they try to. Yep.
Right.
They totally change it. Yeah.
So, if you are in this country illegally and you get deported, however that process comes to be, right? You get deported and you come back. And sometimes you're deported for 5 years, 10 years, lifetime. They have different levels of ban, right? And it kind of depends on what the offense is. You know, so you have some people who had a work visa and then they overstay that work
So
visa.
let me fix that, Josh. I apologize about the interrupt. So what they do, I had to think about it. Say you get you're an illegal person in Texas. You catch a drug case and a gun case. They give you 5 years. They do send you to the prison, but instead of releasing you like they used to in the old days, you're immediately going to federal prison. Like, you still have to do your time here, but
Right.
so the federal court is the one that will decide whether they put the federal ban on you or not. But
Right,
either
but
way,
they're either way
to
they're going to
ICE.
deport you. Right,
Yeah,
you
either
go
way,
to
you're going
ICE.
to ICE, but you're going to go to state prison first, right?
Right, and same thing here. Right, is so you catch a case, and in California, and I'm sure it's the same in Texas. Even if you're in the country legally, but you're not a citizen, right? So you were born in another country, but you got a green card or legal permanent residency or whatever. You know, there's so many levels of immigration law. It's ridiculous. I feel for immigration attorneys because very few of them make very good money, but man, it's so fucking complicated. Like, I try. I've done a lot of immigration stuff around the country, but it's a very complicated form of law. But so you get arrested. Yeah, you owe the state what you owe the state. They're going to get their time out of you. When you're done, like you said, instead of getting released, you get kicked to ICE. And then 9 times out of 10, they're going to deport you. It's very, very rare that they're not going to deport you. Okay? So, but here's the thing. Once you get deported, you come back across the border, that's a 5-year federal sentence for crossing the border once you've been deported. So this idea of, well, your third time this, your fourth time that, I mean, unless you're dealing with 60-year-old fucking people, it's kind of irrelevant, because if you keep it, he don't have to do all that, and he's not going to. All he got to do is turn them over to the feds.
So this is what I don't think is going to happen, though, right? The federal ban only happens if you have some type of felony. I don't think that they'll waste their time. Now, if Texas, with this new law...
What do you mean federal ban?
So if you don't get a federal ban, the judge literally has to ban you from the United States and re-entering. It's not, you're not necessarily going to federal prison for re-entry. You understand? You have to be a violent felon, drug felon, something like that, doing felonies. Then the federal judge will ban you. That's the guys that were coming back into federal prison. They had already been to a state prison. You know,
but I've seen people get banned because they went to what they call a notary, right? Very common in Mexican communities in particular. And the notary, they do all your legal work for you, but a lot of times they're burning you, they're hustling you, right? And so you go to the notary. Notary's like, oh man, you good? I got your papers all taken care of, right? You cash them out a whole bunch of money. They do their thing, but they lied to you, right? So you've actually overstayed your visa. That's all you've done is overstayed your visa. Now you've been getting notices, but the notices are getting sent to the notary. You're not getting them. So now you've been over here like 5-10 years. The longer amount of time, let's say you've been here 5 years, when you overstayed your visa a week, you were now banned for X amount of time. When you overstayed it a month, you're now banned for X amount. You overstayed it a year, banned X amount. So by the time you've been here 5 years past your visa, right, you get a lifetime ban. So immigration picks you up for whatever. It doesn't have to be a crime, but however they come about you, a workplace raid, whatever the case may be, you're banned. They kick you out. You have been deported. Once you've been kicked out of the United States, then oftentimes, I don't want to say every time, because again, immigration law is complicated, but oftentimes when you've come over here and been kicked out through the court process, right? Not that get crossed over and they take you right back over type of thing, right? Which happens sometimes. They catch you at the border, they just drive back over, drop you off, basically like it never happened, but if you go through the court process and you go through ICE and you get kicked out, most of the time there's a ban associated with that. But either way it goes, when you come back in, because you're told when you're kicked out, you can't come back.
Okay, I didn't saw.
And
I had a little.
But now the people ain't gonna always do. Like I had a cellie in Corcoran, who did probably close to 20 years, and when he was done, he got sent to ICE. When he went to ICE, he got kicked out, right? He got deported back to Mexico. Then he heard some people was talking about him in the federal system, so he walked over to get picked up, basically, right? In fact, in Texas, went back over the border. They snatched him up, right? Illegal crossing. Then they looked, oh, but you through, and put him in the feds. Now I think he got a 5-year sentence. He didn't do that whole 5, right? And he didn't go to a USP or anything like that. But he did his time. And then they deported him again, right? So my point is, it sounds good to the Texas public when Greg Abbott is saying we're going to criminalize, being undocumented in our state. The feds have already criminalized it. But the illegal migrant law isn't a secondary offense. You're getting arrested for simply being here illegally.
So normally you would get deported after committing a crime, after being caught with your drugs, after robbing something, after overstaying your visa, after doing something else. This law, they're saying, they're just, hey, you're illegal, come here. You're under arrest.
No, I get that. But what I'm saying is if Texas, I understand that point. If Texas is saying, no, hey, we're going to arrest you because you're not here legally in our state system. But if your state system is connected to the federal system in terms of when we get somebody in our custody at the state level who's not here legally, whenever we're done with them, we hand them over to the feds. Then the feds are going to deport them. They come back again. Now, whatever they're doing on the state level, they're going to have to go do some years in the feds. So this whole idea of they're going to be bouncing back and forth and just crossing over here, no, they're going to start doing some real prison time before they ever reach the felony.
I ain't trying to argue this, but this...
No, it's good.
So no person that I ever was in federal prison with that was there solely for reentry was ever caught on a job site and deported. They never were, just nabbed at the checkpoint. They were always felons previously, like state jail felon, real felons. So have you heard, just a man is working at the fruit stand on the corner and he gets deported. He never committed a crime in the United States of America. Does he now have a federal ban on him? I've never seen them get one. That's what I'm saying, but I've never investigated it either. So
I can't say 100. I can't say 100%.
So. I think you have to be deported after committing a crime to get that ban. You see what I'm saying? So now will these misdemeanor crimes count now? Like these people, because when that ban happens, people do take it serious, Josh. They start not coming back because they don't want to go to the feds here when they come back.
Right.
The American dream is over for them once they get that federal ban. So that's what I'm saying. I've never seen it happen to just a normal working person that got caught up in an ICE raid. It's always, to me, been somebody leaving Texas prisons or leaving the feds now. Because I have a friend that happened to. Like, he caught a state drug charge here and was deported, and he had never, other than the first days of his life, had never even lived in Mexico. Like, it's a total foreign land to him. He's never been there. When he got there, he said everybody knew that he was from Texas because he had this weird Spanish that he spoke. He said it was hard, but he's not coming back because of that ban. But then, hey, remember C-Dog that used to be on YouTube?
Right.
C-Dog been back 3-4 times caught with that federal ban shit. Gets 2, 3, 4 years and keeps coming back. And I'll tell you, he'll do it again. He ain't scared to say it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's what I'm not sure. But this shit.
I just think the idea of it sounds more political.
Yeah, no. So it is. You're right about that. You call it
functional
because. When they passed the law, guess what? It immediately got tied up in litigation and never even took effect.
Here's the thing: is how do you
stopping ID has already been made illegal, right?
Right. So that's what I'm saying is if you're saying being in this country illegally is a crime on a state level, right? So then your local police. When you look across and understand that we have people here from every country in the world. We have a gang of Russians here illegally, a gang of Asians from various countries here illegally, a gang of... So we have a lot of people in this country that don't have papers and don't have citizenship, right? Of different skin tones. Folks from Africa, folks obviously from Mexico, Central America, South America, Asia, Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe. So as a cop, if you suspect somebody of a crime, if I hear an alarm go off and then I see a dude running down the street, I suspect you may be the reason for that alarm going off. I'm going to detain you and investigate, right? There needs to be, or there should be, we know that not always is there, but as a country, we've kind of moved to a point where we're not really in favor of profiling, the stop and frisk, that kind of stuff. Like, there's no real public appetite for this whole, I'm a cop and I have this sixth sense that led me to stop you. Fuck your sixth sense, because I got constitutional rights, right? So that goes out the window, though. How do you do that with this law? Or is it just circumstantial where if I stop you for drugs, or if I catch you with drugs and I happen to realize that you're not in this country legally, that's an additional charge? Or is it Officer Friendly is now driving down the street looking for people that he suspects are not in the country legally? Well, who's he gonna suspect, right? And then you're violating constitutional rights, because if you step up to a U.S. citizen demanding identification, they don't have to give it to you. So now you step up to an undocumented person who an illegal person, however you want to call it, and demand their identification. They don't want to give it to you. How do you know when you're talking to them, you're legal, you're not, right? So I'm going to press the line on you, but not on you. There's so many issues with it that, right, Mike Briscoe, people here illegally don't have constitutional rights. But that's the point is, just for example, if you stop two brown guys and they both refuse to give you identification, how do you know which one of them is a citizen and which one's not? Right? It's just, like you say, you got people here.
Right there, huh?
Right. You got people here that are not U.S. citizens, that were born in Mexico, who don't fucking speak Spanish. They were born in Mexico. They came here at a young age.
Oh,
now they're up, and their parents got to working in the canneries in fucking Boston, outside Boston, and so they didn't grow up in an environment where people spoke Spanish, so they chilling, and so there's, I think it's just a mess. It's just political. It's to appeal to his demographic. That's all.
I think you explained to me why we'll probably never see that law come into effect. That was pure political BS, wasn't it?
Yeah, it just sounds good. He's appealing to his base.
It sounded good when I first heard it. Then when I started really, so the one thing that got me, and I thought about it first, was that stopping ID law, like stopping for, you really do not have to give these people your license if you're not suspected or committed a crime. So, but there's the slippery slope too. Well, if you're brown skinned, now I suspect you of committing a crime. You know what I mean? Boy, that sets up some racist ass shit, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It does, and our courts ain't gonna go for that.
Hey,
I don't give a fuck.
Right now, hold on, look.
Sure.
Farmero said in the South, most people are anti-immigration and never factor in that they. So I believe that's bullshit. At least in Texas, we've never been anti-immigration in Texas, not even slightly. Texas. So first and foremost, I'll say that the immigration crisis is manufactured and it's bullshit. It is harder now to come across that border than it's ever been in the history of that border being there in those two nations. At one time, when we were younger, they didn't have radar checkpoint, shit like that. Like you could just walk across. My grandma's dad and them just walked across back in the day, rode donkeys and shit. Like so somebody to tell me that we have more migrants coming across this border right now when we have all this security and we bottleneck things down. That's unbelievable, right? That comes back to what we were saying, Josh, about the media, how they can twist and narrate something and then truly have people believing it. Like, I'm going to stand on what I said, dog. Listen, I'm standing on what I said when I started this video. If that baby had a crushed skull and bruises on his face, I hope they stick him with the needle tomorrow, right? But if not, then we'll see. But I was taking a stand that I wanted him to have another trial because I didn't hear none of that. But I understand why everybody believes the media and that the invasion of the illegals and everything. No, what's really happening is there's much less coming over now, but this redneck cowboy governor has put them on these buses to these cities that never had to deal with the problem, right? These cities, a couple buses can close down a huge city when we deal with thousands and thousands and thousands a day, and we deal with it fine. Like we've never had a problem
you're sending them to urban areas that already have a homeless problem and a providing services to people problem, and you're just introducing a whole new problem. It's not that they don't have undocumented or illegal, however you want to put it, people in Chicago already, right? Of course they do. They don't arrive 150, at a time, 500 at a time, right? They arrive a family at a time, and they arrive and they fall into their jobs. Here's the ugly truth about the reality of people coming over here without papers to work, whether they're coming from Mexico or anywhere else, right? If you wanted to stop, and we'll just say Republicans, right? Since they seem to be kind of the louder voice in this, right? And I'm not a Democrat by any stretch, but if they wanted to stop it, most folks that are here illegally have jobs. Most of those jobs are jobs that give them a paycheck every 2 weeks. They're working for actual companies, right? Whether they're working in factories, they're working in canneries, they're working in warehouses, they're working on farms, wherever the fuck they're working, right? Big construction companies, that kind of stuff. They get a check every 2 weeks just like everybody else that works there. How do they get that check every 2 weeks? They use a fake social security number, right? It's a bullshit social security number that they use to get hired. The employer 9 times out of 10 knows that it's a bullshit social security number. They don't care. BP Slick, trip off this. So they go to work because they have regular jobs. That's why they raid employers. When they raid these canneries and raid these places, right? These folks they have jobs. They get a check every 2 weeks. What happens to your check every 2 weeks? You get taxes taken out. Same thing happens to my check every 2 weeks. I get taxes taken out. But at the end of the year,
their check too.
Right. It happens to their check just like it happens to our check. The difference is at the end of the year, I get to file taxes. They don't get to file taxes because they got 1,000 people using a dead person's social security number. So none of them are filing taxes. So where does that money that's taken out of their check go? It stays with the government. It's unclaimed. They can't claim it. But it's the IRS. Do you not think that they have the ability to look at a company's payroll and say, Tim Snow, you have a business and you have 100 people that you employ, and we monitor your business like we monitor everything else. It's the IRS. 50 people at your business, Tim Snow, are using the same fucking social security number, right? They're all different names, but they're the same social. Hey, go to Tim's business and see what the hell's going on here. And we snatch those 50 people up and we penalize you because you have a responsibility to know that they just use the same 50 social security numbers, right? Same 50 people use the same social security number. So you get penalized. We're going to charge you a couple $1 million. I'm going to take these 50 people and I'm going to throw them back over the border wherever they came from, right? Let that happen at these large corporations, these large companies, all through middle America, quote unquote, where these cats work, and see how fast things change. But those businesses donate to politicians. They don't want that. Don't step on my toes as a business owner for me to underpay these people because I don't ever have to give them raises. I don't ever have to do nothing. They're just thankful to have a job. So don't stop me from working these people, right? And I'll keep donating to your campaign. Plus, the government receives billions of dollars in taxes that they've taken from these dudes' checks and these ladies' checks that then they don't have to give back to anybody. If illegal immigration was such a financial strain on this country, it would have been stopped. People act like the U.S. government is a bunch of punks or that they don't have any capacity. It's the U.S. government has the power to do whatever the fuck it wants to do. If they wanted to stop this, they would. There's a reason why, whether it's a Democrat in office or it's a Republican in office, the shit doesn't change. One side will make it sound like the other side is being worse or the other side is doing something different. But this problem is not fixed because there's a financial interest in not fixing it.
Absolutely.
That's why.
Our economy in Texas would fall apart without it.
Right. That's what I'm saying but it gets the people all fucking emotional and riled up and wanting to vote. People in this country vote on emotion much more than they vote on fact.
Somebody just said about 3 buses of illegals a day coming to where they're at or something. Okay, well imagine Texas absorbing 3,000 buses a day since the country existed, right? And so to turn it like this, what my point to that was, nobody up north gave a damn about none of the shit that these border states have dealt with all these years until they got a couple buses coming their way. You know what I mean? Like oh my God, Governor of Texas is sending buses here. Well, the governor of Texas and Texans are dealing with, there's not a bus system in the world enough. You know, we're still surviving, dog. We're making it. I don't know. The whole situation has just been blown out of proportion whatsoever. But I'll tell you something like this. I can't speak for California. I know we're live on both channels, but I can speak for at least Houston because I live downtown Houston for about 6 months next to Tent City where the homeless people live. And y'all would call it Skid Row. We call it Tent City, right?
Yeah.
Do you know most of them were white and black people homeless? I don't remember seeing illegal aliens out there homeless. The illegal aliens were working somewhere, living somewhere, and the damn Americans were homeless, man.
Bro, they could be homeless at home. Like it's if I'm gonna live on a street, I'm gonna live on a street in my own backyard. Fuck, I want to jump over a border and go live in the street in your backyard.
That's what they're
and especially and I've been to Mexico several times. There's a lot of streets down there that I'd rather be homeless on than homeless on streets in the United States, right? Just to be honest, if I'm gonna be out sleeping in a doorway somewhere, I can think of a lot of doorways in Mex that I'd rather rest my head than doorways in San Francisco. And I'm from San Francisco. I love this city. I would never live there again. You couldn't pay me enough. But I'm just saying it's all emotional. People, and this is part of the issue with the United States in general, Democrats and Republicans both. And this is why most people in America don't vote. Because they're trying to do shit based on reason and logic and not on emotion. But then there's the minority who just gets all passionate about this shit on one side or the other, and they do this political gangbanging when they're getting fucked either way, right? It's emotion based. It's not logic based. And proof is in the pudding where BP Slick's like, I'm out, you guys are clueless, right? It's because it is based on how you feel. And politicians, Democrats want you to be scared to death of Trump. Republicans want you to be scared to death of Harris. It's all bullshit. It's all back with, this person's going to take this, I'm going to give it back. Well, I'm not going to take that, I'm going to take this. Well, I'll give it back. And there's this cycle of just what gets you inflamed. Hey, man, you know what? If you vote Republican, girls are going to be getting abortions with coat hangers from now on. That's it. And they're all going to fucking die. That's what's going to happen if you vote Republican, right? Well, if you vote Democrat, there's going to be a bunch of dudes sexually assaulting girls in bathrooms left and right, and they're just going to give them awards. Well, I seen a political campaign the other day. Somebody's like, I'm going to keep genetic males out of sports. But if you don't knock it the fuck off, like, really? With all the shit going on in the country?
So this has become a I don't like to get too political, but this whole election has become only about two things. On one side, immigration, the other side, abortion. And I take that back. So three things, because one side is what economy and immigration, and the other one is abortion. Which one? Listen, which one do you think will move more people? Do you think so? Abortion is something people will not bend, break, or bow on, not even slightly. Do you think abortion is enough to really rally out the win for, or do you think immigration and the price of milk and groceries right now? To me, I think milk and groceries got the chance of overriding abortion if anything does.
Milk and groceries, but neither side has offered up the slightest thing in terms of what they're gonna do about milk and groceries. So that's the hard part is both sides talk about the groceries, right? Neither side is really telling you what they're going to do about the groceries. Trump has talked in the past about putting tariffs on shit coming into the country, which is just bad economic policy when taken to the extreme. I think it's the abortion issue because that brings out people who otherwise wouldn't vote, right? There's people who don't so much care about politics, but they care about women's health. And there are far more people in this country who care about women being in control of their own health with their doctors than there are people who don't want women to be in control of their own health with their doctors, right? And regardless of who's the loudest voices on TV, you got to turn that into votes. And in terms of actual individual citizens, just like there's far more Democratic, the Republicans have a numbers issue, right? And the issue is as time goes on, their numbers shrink because their demographic is a small shrinking demographic of people. That's where all this nationalism stuff comes in and we're losing our country and all this other shit. Well, because the people that don't look like you tend to not vote like you. And that does not mean that the Democrats have great policies for people, right? Because I'm not saying that they do. I cannot think of a worse candidate. Well, probably the only worst candidate to put up in this election besides Harris would be Biden, right? I don't support Harris. I cannot in good conscience vote for her. I picked the none of the above in the bubble on my thing because I'm obviously not going to vote for Trump. I have kids that I have to explain my decisions to, and I just find it impossible to explain to them how that's a rational choice. But also, I have fought against Harris in court. I've seen what she did when she was in power in California. I'm from California, spent the vast majority of my life there. And she is so bad, even in the primaries when Clinton was running or whatever, she had to drop out of the Democratic primary before they voted in California because she wasn't going to win her home state. And the reward that she got for that was becoming vice president to Biden because of the looks, because of the demographics, because of the performative nature of Democratic policy. So I don't support that shit either. But Trump, come on, man. Like, that's not even to me, it's just not even a serious option. You know what I'm saying? And most people that, worked for him in his previous cabinets and all the national security and all that other stuff, the people who he hired when he said I hired the best of the best, but the people that he hires either go to jail or tell you, please don't vote for him, he's dangerous. He's running out of people that he can put into these cabinet positions. Like, in terms of qualified people don't want to be associated with him. And I think that's scary because you wind up taking clowns from the fucking circus and putting them in the government. It's just a mess. So I don't support either one of them. One of them obviously is going to become the president, but
so listen. With that being said, who you really think's gonna win?
Still think Harris will win. I still think Harris will win. Yeah,
I told somebody that yesterday. They thought I was crazy.
I think
I do too. I'm not
I
for
think she's
Harris.
gonna
I'm not
win.
saying I'm voting. I'm not voting for either person. But I
Mm,
think with the political machine behind her and the three news networks against one, and the fact that abortion is the issue that nobody will, as I said, bend or break on. And even if there are Republicans that are pro-abortion, also, it doesn't. You don't have to be pro-life to just be Republican. I think they're gonna cross over too. But
you see a lot of Republicans saying, "Man, I'm a Republican, but I can't vote for Trump." You
right.
don't see a lot of Democrats saying, "Hey, man, I'm a Democrat, but I think you
I
should vote
know.
for Trump."
But
Like
listen,
there's
what I do see that I've never seen before. There's a lot of black YouTubers right now with gigantic channels that every video they do are pro Trump right now, and that is something that never happened before, right? Like
Mhm.
so, for real, black men are going for Trump. Like this is like to me watching a big getting ready for the Super Bowl, dog. It's like getting ready for the 49ers getting ready for the Super Bowl or some of the Cowboys, you know? Like I've
Mhm.
been watching it just like that, and I really enjoy your commentary right there.
I'm gonna be
Because
live streaming on Tuesday night for election
are
night
you,
because
man? I'll
I'm
pop in with you.
yeah
I want to pop in and talk about it because I've been
yeah
following this to the fullest, and Harris. So she got put in a national level without any of us in Texas or other places knowing anything about her. You know more about her history
right.
because she's from California, but to us, she was a total stranger. That was it, just VP Harris. And
Mm.
Josh, people don't understand that the vice president and president might only see each other for a minute once a week.
Right.
Like they're not sitting at a desk with each other doing everything. He's not asking her opinion. Her
No.
only job is to step forward if he dies.
Right.
The rest of the time, she has no say in shit or a
And she's
tiebreaker
a
in the Senate.
tiebreaker vote.
Yeah,
Right. She's a
tiebreaker
tiebreaker
vote, which
vote.
is almost never needed. Right.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
So she is refusing to separate herself from Joe, but she's also I don't know. She would do better by just raising her hands and go, "Look, I was VP. I didn't have shit to do with what Joe did. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm
Mm.
about to fix this shit." But her tying herself still to everything Joe Biden and scared to just step away because I also think she knows Joe has that ego. Joe might throw her under the bus if she tries to just throw him under the bus, right?
Well,
She
there's a
still has to
machine
worry
there
about that.
too. There's a machine there too because remember, and not too long ago, you had the Bernie versus Hillary within the Democratic Party, right? And Bernie definitely had the movement of people, and I think had policies that were far better for this country. But the Democratic machine had already anointed Hillary, right? It was Hillary's turn, and so they were not going to let him win, and they went to extreme lengths. And you had people that were civil rights leaders who were going against Bernie, who was side by side with them fighting those same civil rights fights and was picking Hillary Clinton, right? Like so there's a machine behind the scenes that comes with a lot of weight and a lot of money. And I would imagine that Kamala doesn't want to upset that machine. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
and so and that machine at one time backed Joe Biden.
Bro, that
And
machine is so
uh,
powerful. Joe had to step away. He didn't want to.
right. Yeah, no, it's and if you think about it, America's in a very weird place because Biden is the president. The only time I've heard him talk recently is when he made that stupid ass comment about Trump supporters, like they're all garbage, which that was a reckless ass. You can't be the president of the United States and call all the supporters of a political candidate garbage, right? Like you can't do that. And it's crazy that he was saying that in response to Trump saying that these people are people at his
The
rally,
comedian did it.
were
Yeah, the
saying shit, yeah.
comedian.
And so that's the thing though, is there's these machines, it's all a mess, and we get to vote, but we only get to vote within the narrow lanes in which they allow us to, and that's the part that I don't like. I think the two-party system is corrupt, and I don't.
I do too. So listen, my man Wayne, from my channel, Wayne was saying every year he'd vote for the Libertarian Party just to keep him on the ticket because they needed a 5% vote just out of protest, you know. So listen, Ron Paul, the third guy that used to always try to run back in the day, you remember Ron Paul?
Yeah.
He was from Texas, right here in Galveston. And Ron Paul was the guy, though, that wanted a flat tax. So where the poor people and the billionaires, we all paid the same percentage. And that was unacceptable for the billionaires, right? Ron Paul was the one that he could have made things a little bit better, man. To just, like you said, that machine ain't gonna let it happen. Hey, Josh, I gotta get out of here. I gotta work in the
Likewise,
morning.
bro.
If you want to keep going, or you can.
Oh, I'm good.
Keep it. All right, y'all. So listen, this is Texas Prison Stories, and that's the Homie Hangout. And I appreciate you stopping by. I'm gonna stand by what I said at the first of the video. If it comes out that baby had that caved-in skull and all that, man, I hope they give him that fucking needle. And I feel highly deceived, but. With that not being said, I agree with everything you said too. And I'm gonna go watch that news. It comes on in 10 minutes, so I'm finna sign out and record it too. And I'll send you the recording when it's talking about it. All right.
Please do, man. I appreciate you, bro.
Yep. We'll catch y'all later.
All right, everybody. Take care.